Tahir Alum, welcome you all on Frankly Speaking. My guest today is Mervyn, Director of Global Health Advocacy Incubator. With vast experience in advocacy and capacity strengthening, Mervyn serves as the country lead for Bangladesh and India, passionately supporting road safety initiatives. His expertise lies in designing strategic campaigns, fostering collaborations, and driving sustainable acts for road safety worldwide. And we all know that in Bangladesh, road safety is a major concern, and our roads are notoriously unregulated and accident prone. So how to ensure road safety in Bangladesh, and what are the issues and measures we can take into account, and what international community can support towards the end, we'll discuss on this program. We welcome Mr. Mervyn
Thank you.
On Frankly Speaking.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's pleasure. As an expert, at the very beginning, would you please share some key insights into the global aspect of the road safety issues, and how does it impact countries like Bangladesh?
So road safety is a major concern. Road traffic crashes are a major cause of deaths and injuries worldwide, and since it is a major cause worldwide, it also impacts Bangladesh at the same way, and a lot of deaths take place. So globally, 1.3 million deaths happen, and more than 50 million injuries, and most of these are happening in low and middle income countries. And so it directly impacts Bangladesh, and the situation at Bangladesh then feeds into the global database too. And we look at it as a statistic, but when we look at the core of the issue, and you drill down to the bottom, it impacts personal lives. Okay. So I think that it's a very pertinent and an urgent issue to address.
We have UN action plan,
Yes.
second phase action plan,
Yes.
from 2021 to 2030. So how does it impact the road safety countries like Bangladesh?
So the second decade of action, and then the global plan for action provides us, ways on what issues we need to focus on, how do we focus on those issues, and who do we focus those issues at.
Okay.
So it gives us a strategic way to think through on how to solve some of the road traffic or safety issues. So the global second decade of action and the global plan for action talks about the safe systems approach.
Okay.
And the safe systems approach is focused on different aspects. So it talks about safe users, it talks about safe roads, safe speeds, post-crash response, and also multimodal transportation system. So it looks broadly at all of these factors, and then it drills down individually, narrowly on what we can do on each of these aspects, and how what kind of changes or improvements we can bring, whether it's greater investment, updates in policies, and who can do that. So whether it's the governments, funders, philanthropies, how we can kind of achieve that together.
So safe system approach, is that relatively a new concept or something that we haven't discussed or we haven't thought about it earlier?
I don't think necessarily it's, of course, how we think about road safety has evolved over a period of time. So safe systems approach is a part of that evolution and has come into being.
Okay.
And, safe systems approach, yes, is slowly kind of, getting down to kind of, from this global kind of, thought process to kind of, filtering it down to the country level. So yes, it's coming up, and, we are kind of, bringing it to everybody's attention too.
Okay, but we know that there is sustainable development goals, some issues which is, what do you think? Does it necessarily or effectively integrate the concerns related to road safety?
Yes, I think there are sustainable development goals 3.6, which talks about having the number of deaths by 2030 due to road traffic crashes, and the 11.2, which talks about safe, affordable, and accessible transportation systems to everybody. Okay. So it talks about it integrates both of these aspects, within the global goals.
Okay. When you, Mervyn, when you talk about the safe system approach, which of course also new to me,
Yeah.
And we have certain laws related to road transport, especially 2018,
Yeah.
and road transport rules in 2020. But before that, could you shed some light on the challenges and obstacles or the issues we are facing in Bangladesh? Could you please shed some light on that?
Yeah, so Bangladesh has the Road Transport Act 2018, and then the Road Transport Rules 2022. But effectively, the Road Transport Act 2018 does not cover all aspects of the safe systems
Okay.
approach. It kind of drills down on a few risk factors like speed, drink driving,
Okay.
helmets, but it kind of misses on looking at road safety as a systems issue, and it does not integrate all the parameters of how can we make roads safer, how can we make vehicles safer, how can we make users the road users safer, or how can we have a very strong post crash response, and how can we institute safe speeds. So for example, one of the examples is that Bangladesh currently does not have a maximum speed limit for roads. And I think that's again a missing parameter, because if you don't have a maximum speed limit, that means that you can drive up to any speed limit that you wish to. So I think that's one of the loopholes, one of the gaps. Child restraint is another aspect that's missing out from the road transport kind of current when it talks about the 5 risk factors.
Okay, 5 risk factors. What does?
So it's speed, drink driving, helmet,
Okay.
child restraint, and seat belts.
Okay.
So currently it does kind of cover the parameter of drink driving. It covers about on seat belts, and it has issued also kind of the helmet standards.
Okay.
But the remaining 2 are missing. But even after covering the 5 risk factors, if let's say if it had covered all 5 risk factors, it still needs an integrated approach.
Okay.
That talks about all the whole system in
Okay.
its entirety. And the safe system approach is based on some underlying principles.
Okay.
So one is deaths and injuries are unacceptable
Yeah.
due to road traffic crashes.
Okay.
Second is that as humans we are bound to make mistakes. So, it could be distracted driving, it could be fatigue, so that's going to lead to something. And we are vulnerable. So as humans we are vulnerable. So it covers that aspects. One of the key aspects it covers is that this is a shared responsibility. So it's systems, it's people, it's we all share that responsibility. Third, safety, and this is I think that one of the most important ones. All of those are important, but safety should not be reactive. It should be proactive. So basically, we have to think about safety first before thinking about anything else.
Okay.
We want to keep everybody safe. And last is redundancy should be built in, which is like every system should cover the all parameters of safety.
Okay.
So if one kind of misses the mark, the other one is there to cover it. So for example, one of the examples is that vehicles can also be made safer. Vehicles can have inbuilt emergency braking system.
Okay.
So if if for some reason I miss hitting the brakes, then the emergency braking system can detect a barrier in front of it and brake automatically. So it's supposed to build the system. One of the principles is to build in redundancy within each of these parameters.
এখন বিকাশ অ্যাপেই পাবেন দেশের প্রথম ডিজিটাল লোন।
Mervyn, discussing about the safe system approach.
Yeah.
And some behavioral risk, something. How best we can address or we can deal with the behavioral risk, like you mentioned drunk driving or use of helmet or users unawareness. How this behavioral risk can be addressed?
Yeah, so like I said that it's a shared responsibility. So a lot of different things need to happen in order to kind of address the issue of road safety. And you talked about awareness. So awareness is just one aspect of it. So we can build awareness, we can build education, and we can provide education and capacity strengthening initiatives to, of course, users, as well as within the system, the people who are enforcing. So enforcement about, for example, you talked about drunk driving. So enforcement about drunk driving could be happening at various checkpoints. So those could be built into. So systemic factors are also critically important. And
but it involves a huge logistic support and capacities.
Yes.
Do you think the countries like Bangladesh still, are they prepared to enforce or to introduce sort of facilities, what you are talking about, to ensure safe system approach in the country?
See, not everything can happen at one time.
Okay.
But progress can be made over time.
Okay.
And I think that if we take critical steps, then yes, we can achieve road safety within the set timeline. So we can make progress over time to make sure that that all aspects of the safe system approach are in place. And not everything will be happening at one go. I mean, it's impossible for a country the size of Bangladesh, huge, huge, like you said, logistical things are required. Capacity strengthening is required. At the same time, we have to think about in terms of short-term measurable objectives. What is possible? So, yes, investment will need to happen if we want to achieve certain things. Without investment, it's not going to happen.
Okay.
So all of these are critical parameters, and all of this, as citizens, and as kind of advocates and champions.
Do you see any kind of urgency or sense about introducing safety approach in Bangladesh in the policy making level?
I think that we are all kind of as safe system approach, like I said, it's evolved over. We are coming to that where we are talking to policymakers, and I see that there is a commitment to road safety in Bangladesh. There is a national road safety strategic action plan too. So there is commitment. But commitment also needs to meet with actions. So I think that's where kind of the role of civil society is also important to kind of work with policymakers, so that there are actions paved in to ensure that there is a safe systems approach initiatives happening in Bangladesh. And we talked about safe systems approach, and that there is a requirement for also to have a comprehensive road safety law. Because there is the current Road Transport Act does not cover everything.
Okay. Yeah, you must be aware that there was a road safety movement or protest in 2018, and
Yes.
subsequently we introduced, we have seen a law.
Yes.
And then rules. So, in the existing laws or rules, is it adequate to address all the? You mentioned about and you underscored the need for enacting a new law on road safety, comprehensive road safety. But in the existing law, does it somehow cover the pressing issues?
Not necessarily. Like I said, it covers a few risk factors, but it needs to be broader than just a few risk factors. It has to cover all aspects of the safe system to ensure that that we are aligned with the global goals, such as what I mentioned, the Sustainable Development Goals 3.2 and 3.6 and 11.2. So we need to be aligned to be aligned with that, and to be aligned and to ensure that we are moving in a direction to achieve those global goals. Then we need to address the road safety issue as a whole system issue, rather than a few risk factors issue.
Let us talk about something about your organizations. You are Director Advocacy at the Global Health Advocacy Incubator.
Right.
So how does the organizations like yours can stand by or support in having or seeing such a new comprehensive road safety law?
So we are committed, and we provide technical expertise and global resources that are available globally to partners and to the government over here. We share those resources so that and those resources are backed by evidence. So those are evidence-based resources. There's enough research that has happened, and we provide those.
Could you cite some examples where this sort of the model road safe safety system is successful in the countries?
I think a lot of Western countries are already kind of approaching road safety as a whole systems issue. So there's separate guidelines on speed, separate guidelines on helmets, separate guidelines on safe roads, safe users, and so those in a lot of Western countries, these guidelines are already in place. In India also, recently they've passed the Motor Vehicle Amendment Act, which also covers a lot of aspects of road safety in it. So it's there, and countries are moving towards that. Where if the countries are not there yet, they will be there.
I mentioned at the very beginning that this is a major concern for Bangladesh, and the figures shows that it's really alarming. I mean, every year it's increasing road accidents, fatalities, injuries, and the support system, logistics, hospitals, treatments. This is not very impressive situation in Bangladesh.
Right.
In the given context, what is your observation? Does the country like Bangladesh is moving forward development? I mean, in terms of ensuring road safety, or you see, I mean, how do you evaluate the situation?
Well, from my perspective, there's plenty of things that need to happen. That we every year, and this is based on some understanding that every year new vehicles are added to the roads. Whether infrastructure is also kind of
are they adequately monitored in your view? The vehicles which is plying on the road now in Bangladesh?
Well, I don't have the
compliant with the compliant level.
I think that that's something debatable, and we can all see it that whether the vehicles are compliant or not compliant. But like I said, there are a lot of gaps. And and every time there's a gap, we see it as an opportunity to be addressed, and to be addressed not as a present context, but to be addressed futuristic looking in a way. And if we look at it in a way to have a vision for the future, I think that we can take these gaps and address them so that we are prepared as a country. Bangladesh is prepared to accommodate what future developments could be.
Do you think that the Road Transport Act, which has been enforced, is successfully being implemented in Bangladesh?
Well, it's hard to say. The reason it's hard to say is because you need to have a full view of how the entire law is implemented. And like I said, that transportation is one issue, safety, road safety is another. And yes, they are related, but they are also kind of on its own a huge issue. So that's why when I first mentioned that separate legislation or a separate law on comprehensive road safety, focusing on safe systems approach, is the need of the hour. Because only then we can say that we are keeping up with the transportation to ensure that citizens of Bangladesh are having safe access to roads, safe access to vehicles, their interaction with different systems that ensure safety of the citizens is at the topmost, and it's they feel safe walking on the road.
Where would you underscore most, having a new law or enforcement or implementation of existing laws to ensure the safety? Because we have major concern about the disobedience or the lack of respect to the existing laws even among the stakeholders. What is your view?
Well, I don't think that it's either or option, because enforcement of one law does not necessarily eliminate the need for another one. You want to enforce what is already in place, and make sure that that's adequately kind of upheld. But if there are gaps, and if there is a need for another law, or that is focused on a completely kind of standalone issue, then that's the need. So both need to go hand in hand. You cannot undermine the need for enforcement or implement.
Do you foresee that the policymakers will be convinced to see for, I mean, to exploring options for a new one like road safety, comprehensive road safety law?
Yeah. So before this meeting, I was at a workshop and with some of the policymakers, and I feel that there is a huge commitment within the policymakers, and they want to create and see improvement into the existing situation. So my understanding that the takeaway that I had from the meeting is that yes, that they want to kind of look at road safety as a whole system.
Okay.
And they want to see the change happening.
Okay.
So I think that as for any legislation, it requires more discussion, more debate, and my understanding is that it will come through.
Okay. So you believe that adoption of a new law, comprehensive road safety law, will benefit the users, road users eventually?
Yes, it will not just benefit the road users eventually, it will also benefit the country at large.
Okay.
Because
could you explain a little bit more?
Yes, because with more injuries and more deaths, there is also we can make connections to economic loss, we can make connections to productivity loss, and I think those things fuel into the economy of the country, into the productivity of the country, into the GDP of the country. And I think that if we can prevent injuries and deaths, then those are directly impacting the economic gains of the country and the productivity gains of the country. So I think there's a direct correlation.
So do we have sufficient resource to see new laws and implementation of the laws?
Like I said, investment for implementation of new laws or even existing laws is critical. We need to kind of understand whether we have made enough investment to ensure a complete implementation of a law. So I think that's again goes hand in hand, and to see the change that we want to achieve.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Mervyn Christian,
Of
for
course.
joining me and discuss about the critical issues.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate
it's
it.
our pleasure. Dear viewers, that's all my conversation with Mr. Mervyn Christian, Director Advocacy at Global Health Advocacy Incubator. He is from Washington, D.C. and country lead for Bangladesh and India. We discuss about the critical needs to see a new law about comprehensive road safety. Though we have a current law related to Road Transport Act, which has been introduced in 2018, and there is a rules in 2020. But given the alarming trend of our road accidents and in order to ensure the safety of the road users and overall to benefit and to check the economic and productivity loss, we need to have a new kind of laws like road safety law, and that was underscored by Mr. Mervyn Christian. I will look forward to discuss more about this issue, and we thank you indeed for watching our show, and we invite you to watch our next episode. Until then, do take care and goodbye.
এখন বিকাশ অ্যাপেই পাবেন দেশের প্রথম ডিজিটাল লোন।